It is kind of that time of year we call giving season. So we tend to get very busy in the last quarter of the year here at Fidelity Charitable.
I think the industry standard on charitable giving, it's something that when we started Ausperity 4 years ago and chose Fidelity to be our only custodian as of present time, was really appealing to us. Just in terms of numbers I have here, Fidelity Charitable has the largest donor advised fund in the country. Glenn, could you just describe that? So Fidelity Charitable in and of itself, does that classify as a charity in that sentence there?
Yes, Rory. So we are a 501c3, Fidelity Charitable. We were created in 1991. So we've been in existence for almost 35 years, have just grown tremendously since then. To the point where now we are the largest charity in the country based on contributions in and grants out. And I just think it speaks to the popularity of donor advised funds in general. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate your comments. We like to think that we set the standard in the donor advised fund space.
Yeah,
let's talk a little bit more about what that means.
Exactly. We're going to really break into what is a donor advised fund. And that, again, you're going to give money to Fidelity Charitable, but from there, it just makes it a lot easier for you to disperse it to the charities that are important to you and to your family. The other important part is, 300,000 Americans are using Fidelity Charitable. And my family is one of them. So I'm using a donor advised fund. I do it more so for organization and goal setting in terms of how much my wife and I want to give to various charities over the course of the year. So we're one of that 300,000. So this is not new. It's probably the industry standard and leader. And I'm excited to have this discussion today.
We did hit on some things about Fidelity Charitable. Rory mentioned we have over 300,000 donors at Fidelity Charitable. What we are really proud of here is that we've granted out close to $73 billion to charitable organizations over the years. We'll talk about what that looks like at the donor level because we are a mission-driven organization. So we exist to meet our mission, which is to make it easier for Americans to reach their philanthropic goals. So the idea behind this donor advised fund, I mentioned we started in 1991. It's meant to be an easier way to fund your philanthropy and get more money ultimately to charity. And the way people do that is they create an account, they log into their account, and then they make grants out the door to their favorite charity. That's essentially what it is, but we're going to get into a little more detail here later. We're also proud that we are the largest grant maker in the United States. When it comes to philanthropy and when people talk about philanthropy in the United States, I think there's this misconception that, it's the big corporations that are funding philanthropy and the big foundations you hear about, the Ford Foundation and the Pew Foundation, the Tiger Woods Foundation. And the reality is it's individuals like you that are attending this webinar today that are fueling philanthropy and have been doing so for decades through all sorts of economic climates, different presidents, stock market crashes. If you look at this chart, it does exactly what we like charts to do, which is go up somewhat steadily to the right.
Yeah.
And individuals fuel about 2/3 of philanthropy in this country. They obviously make quite an impact. The essence of what we do here, I think, is to appeal to the individual to make sure they give the right asset and make their granting easier. I don't think we address this in a slide coming up here, but one of the neat things about our donor advised fund is you can log into this account just like an online bank account, and you could look up various charities. You can make grants out to those various charities, and we even have an app that helps you do it so easily.
Glenn, I can speak to that, just having used it the last 2 years, and the feedback that we get from clients is like, wow, not only is it easy, it's really cool, where you can look up various charities and then just with the click of a button, distribute funds directly to the charity. The interesting thing that's also really helpful is at the end of the year, you have one consolidated tax form that you'll use to show your total charitable gift, and the deduction that comes from that. But it's kind of fun. My wife and I enjoy kind of sitting down together and kind of reviewing, the assets that we've contributed. And our goal is to deplete our donor advised fund every year and distribute those gifts. And there's some obscure charities that are part of that. There's different chapters for universities. So it's really wild in terms of how much they pick up, but it's fun to do. It's easy to navigate. And when you sign into Fidelity to view your assets that Ausperity is managing, with you, you'll also see at the bottom Fidelity Charitable, and that would be the donor advised fund if you have it set up.
Terrific, Rory. Appreciate that. Yeah, the app is I'm obviously a donor myself, and the app just makes it so easy. You pull up your app. I've got Face ID. I log right into my account. I look up the Marlton Animal Shelter. It populates. I type in I hit make a grant, type in $50, and it's off. It makes giving really simple. So some of the reasons why people give to philanthropy, I'm sure many of you here can attest to some of these things and what's important to you and how you feel when you are supporting causes. Passing on values to family members, that can be a big one with a donor advised fund, because a donor advised fund has successors to it. So if we're looking at a typical scenario, it might be a husband and wife have their own donor advised fund. They are joint donors like Rory and his wife, and they might have 2 kids. They name their kids as successors on the donor advised fund. So hopefully, 100 years from now, as Rory 100 years from now, Rory and his wife are no longer with us. Their kids will take over the donor advised fund at that time. So they are successors, and they can name their own kids to be successors. And this can go on in perpetuity. So it's a really neat thing to be able to get the kids involved in that way. Keeping engaged on the issues that are important, supporting giving goals, sometimes utilizing products that will kick off an income stream. Donor advised funds will not do that. We are going to look at other products that will. And then lastly, a major one, especially when we're looking at this time of year and assets that you can give, it's kind of the tax ramifications of making these gifts. They can be very powerful and augment some of those other reasons that we just addressed.